All right, for our American regionalism collage, we are not really going to be doing much drawing. We're going to be working with construction paper. We've got our glue and our scissors. I've also got a collection here of pretty much all of my colored pieces of paper. You don't have to have them all at your desk. You can go grab what you need when you're ready for it. As far as your background color goes, you can choose any color that you would like. At least I have my students do that. For instance, I chose purple because I'm going to do a sunset scene and I'd really like to have this purple in there, and I don't have a lot of it from my scrap paper, so that's why I chose this as my purple, as my background color. So I'm gonna go ahead and start working from the sky. I find it's best to work from the top down on your piece of paper, so I typically tell my students to work from the top down. It kind of seems to work a little bit better. And I've just kind of got some sunset colors here. I would also probably have maybe some pink, but I am out of that today. So we're gonna start to create our sky. All right, for me, for my sunset, I know that I'm gonna have my kind of horizon here. Before you really start, you wanna kind of think about what kind of landscape picture you're making for your farm scene. Is it just going to be fields? Are you going to create, a little town and you're gonna have buildings and things like that? Are you going to show animals? Are you just going to show a farm? Is it daytime, nighttime, sunset? All of those kinds of things. Are you going to have trees? These are things you want to kind of plan out in your head. If you need to kind of make a list off to the side on a scrap piece of paper, you can do that. But we're just going to get going. You are welcome to cut the paper. I prefer to tear. I feel like it gets kind of more of a collage-y kind of look. It's kind of more rustic. So what I'm going to do with my blue piece of paper here is I'm just going to tear some sections, and you're going to find that construction paper tears better a certain way. You're tearing with the fibers of the paper as opposed to against, which does not tear as nicely. Some people want that, so kind of think about what you're going to do. All right, I've kind of got my paper sectioned off here, and I'm just going to add some glue to it here. And it's totally fine if it hangs off the edge of your paper. You can always go back and clean things up around the edge, cut off your extra for that. And we're just gonna kind of add in some different colors here. I recommend overlapping. The reason I'm doing all this dark blue back here is because at sunset, your darker colors are going to be more toward the top of your paper, and because they're farther away from the sun. And then you can kind of add in some of your other colors here. I'm going to do some of these as more skinny strips so I can really kind of add them in where I want them. Ooh, that one got really skinny. All right, so we'll add in some glue. Sorry. All right, we're just kind of layering. Don't be afraid to layer. Also, don't be really critical about what you're creating right now. You are in the middle of creating this. Like, we've barely begun. You kind of have to, as artists, sometimes trust the process. Stay positive, kind of keep going forward. I'm going to leave a gap here, kind of show that purple peeking through a little bit. If you kind of judge your process now, it's like judging a burger before it's fully cooked. Of course it's not done yet. Or judging a house while it's in the middle of being made. Well, it doesn't look like the greatest of house because it's not done yet. You've got to trust the process. Okay, so collage is just one of those really fun things to do. It's just something that we don't normally get to do, which is it's fun sometimes to try things out. You cannot be afraid of the process. This is just paper. It's not going to ruin us, right? One thing you can also do, like I'm just tearing and gluing because I'm going for it, but I've also kind of done this before, so it's not as quite new to me. If you want to kind of tear things out and kind of lay them down and plan out a little more of what you want to do, like, oh, I don't like the red, or, you know, I think this should be orange instead, you know, you can always kind of try that out before you actually glue it down. And the good thing too is even if you glue it down, you're like, oh, I don't like that. The glue really hasn't set. You can probably pull it back up. I'm going to add in a little bit of orange now. Ooh, that one tore really interesting. Alrighty. Now I'm going to keep going on some of my sky, but I'm going to add in some other details with my scissors to kind of show you what that's going to look like. So you can kind of add those elements as well. Maybe for me, I would like to actually show my sun. So for me, maybe what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out like my half circle here. There's my setting sun. And I'm going to put it in there, and I'm going to try and sneak it in kind of behind. If you can't sneak it in, maybe your paper's too dry, just tear a new piece and kind of add it over the top to kind of do something like that. I also love to do clouds in mine. They don't have to be super big or anything. You know, you can make them, you know, those nice big puffy clouds. I'm more of a wispy cloud kind of person. I like to do, you know, kind of those wispy clouds. I will say something that kind of really makes your clouds look more realistic is not just doing white. Maybe add in some gray as well, to kind of add some depth to yours. So I've got some gray here. I typically don't do as much with the gray as I do the white. My clouds are a little bit smaller. They're just kind of these great organic blob shapes. Did you know that there's actually 2 categories of shapes? There are what are called geometric shapes. Geometric shapes have names and rules like square and circle. Like if I asked you to draw a circle, they necessarily wouldn't be all the same, but they would all be a circle because they have names and rules. If I told you to draw a leaf, they would all be leaves, yes, but they would all be different. Same if I asked you to draw a flower or a cloud. Those are kind of more of those organic kind of blob type shapes that, yes, they have a name, but they don't really have any guidelines or rules that kind of go with them. So they can kind of look any way that they need to. Like a blob could be huge. It could be small. It could have stuff in it. It's, you know, it could be rough looking or slimy or who knows. Could be pretty looking or disgusting, you know, so, all right, so we're kind of adding in some definition here. Once I finish with the sky and I really like how it looks, I'm going to start working on the land and the other details. So I'm going to show you guys how to do that. I'm going to speed up the process so it'll go a little bit faster and you can kind of see what we're doing.